Hey, I think I'm live. I think breathe around. Okay, so this is Tarot Speakeasy number 3. Let me just check the phone. Yeah, I should be on the right one. Okay. Yeah, so this is Tarot Speakeasy number 3. I am Cassandra, the card reader. So the idea with these speakeasies is we get together and we read cards together. We learn techniques. We practice them. I've been holding these live just on private Zoom calls, but now I'm opening it up here to YouTube. So obviously there are some restrictions. You know, when we're doing YouTube live, we can't have as much interaction as we would if we were in a private Zoom call together. But nevertheless, I will try to recreate the speakeasy experience for you. So yeah, I'm Cassandra, the card reader. I've been reading tarot for 30 years, since my 20s. I'm in my 50s. I've been doing lots of events and parties for like the past 12 years. Obviously, I have a YouTube channel. I have a website. So you know, I've been doing this for a while, working on a book. I have a book. I just need to release the damn book. But let's not talk about the book. I don't want to talk about the book. So let me go into presentation mode here and go over it today. So here we go. Okay, so welcome to the speakeasy, as I said. And it's kind of crazy. What is it doing? You know, it's technical. It never fails. Okay. Okay, welcome to the speakeasy. That's what I was trying to say. Welcome to the speakeasy. If we were, you know, like that in private Zoom room, we would do some introductions and things. But what I would like to do to start off with is pull a card for the evening and then go through it. So this will be when I pull the card evening in a second here. This is my intuitive techniques. These are some of my intuitive techniques because my whole spiel here is that a lot of you are stuck. You've got a bunch of keywords in your head, but you can't do anything with them. You know what I mean? And you're always peeking in the book, trying to figure out what things mean. And the problem is that you are trying to memorize definitions, and that's really not the process that you need to be doing. What you'd be doing first is creating a connection to the cards and using your intuition. And then that will help you create a feedback loop where the cards talk to you and telling you what they mean. And then you end up with a base layer of correspondences with the cards, and then you can build on it from there. And after a while, you just start speaking the lingo that everybody that reads tarot knows and talks to each other, but it's kind of like an insider's thing. So it's really hard when you're beginning to break into that insider's thing, because sure, a lot of what I say cards mean will pull into what you hear standard definitions are, but there's a lot more to it. And that's why when you work with the cards in the way I'm going to show you in just a second here, that you can cover a lot of territory with one card, because that's one of the things that can be overwhelming. It's like, oh, it could be all this whole bazillion different keywords. Well, when you create that connection, then you know which correspondences are applying when. And that also has to do with the, you know, the spread and the cards around it and all that kind of stuff. But let me stop talking about that and let me show you. So I'm going to pull a card for the evening, and then I'm going to walk you through my intuitive process on how you might start making a connection with the cards intuitively. And if you have any questions, if there's anybody here live, you can put a question in the chat. I don't see the chat. Oh, it's over here. It's here. I see that. Now my now splitting into 4. Whatever. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Let me take a drink of water. Calm down. Okay. All right. Now I need to switch. I need to switch cameras. Okay. Do it. You do it. I am going to switch cameras here. All right. So I got to get out of this mode here. Please bear with me. I'm switching the card cam. I'm switching the card cam. Da, 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 da. Okay. All right, one more click. Card cam. Yay. Are we on? Card cam. We're on. Okay. All right. Move this other way. Oh my goodness. Oh, and I have one more thing. I have to switch the microphone too. Hold on. Okay, I'm over here at Card Cam. So I'm going to pull a card for the evening. And once again, like I said, if this was the Zoom room, which I'll put a link in the description on how to join my list so you can join the private Zoom rooms. But if we're in the Zoom room, everybody would be doing this on their own. But since we're not in a private Zoom room, I'm doing it. Okay, so the card of the evening. What is the card of the evening? Tell us cards. Card of the evening. All right, here we go. Oh boy, I was at a party last night and I got this card so many times. This is the 4 of Earth from the Gaian Tarot, is what this is. Yes, I would try to zoom this, but I don't want to slide across and try to zoom it right now, so I'm not going to do that. Although it does look like it's kind of easy for me to do that, but nevertheless, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Okay, so the easiest way to read any card is what Venabelle Wynn calls the 4 corners method, which means you're just dealing with what is actually literally on the card and in the 4 corners. So I'm looking at this card and I say, there's a squirrel. He is on the ground. He's holding a nut in his hand. There are lots of nuts around him. There are leaves on the ground. It is fall time. He seems to be busy. He seems to be happy. He looks, like he's getting ready for winter. He's gathering his nuts. Yeah, so that is this card for the 4 corners method. Now you may be thinking, big deal, but you'd be surprised how literal the cards can be sometimes, and people will be like, oh my God, that's exactly what's happening, or they can relate to it just on the 4 corners method alone. And that's if you're reading for other people. If you're reading for yourself, you might relate to it too. Okay, so next technique that we can use when we're intuitively trying to connect with a card is we're looking at the card, and I'm going to put it down now. We're looking at the card, and so we try to connect with the emotions, any emotions that come up around this card. So I happen to like the fall season. So when I see this, like that, generally it brings up good emotions for me. But you may be somebody who doesn't like the fall season, and it might bring up bad memories or something like that. And that's another thing. So like, do emotions come up? Do memories come up? Do any body sensations come up? And this is what is connecting to your clairs. Like you hear the clairaudience, claircognizant, clair, I can't even remember what they're called now, but all the different clairs. So this is where you need to like start figuring out where your clairs are. So it's like, yeah, are you like able to kind of get into this card and like just know something about it? Or like I said, are memories coming up? Or are you feeling sensations? Are you feeling the cool fall air? Are you smelling fall leaves? You know, fall leaves have a certain smell. I am very verbal and very clairaudient, so I always hear things. You know, if anything, I'm going to hear things like I'm going to hear crunching leaves sounds. I'm going to hear rakes. I might hear some kind of phrase like, see you in the fall, if at all. That's what my grandma used to say. You know, so it just depends on you. Like you may not be getting all that auditory verbal information. You may be getting something else. Like I said, you may be feeling things in your body. You may be just knowing things. You may be, you know, really seeing into this card. Like that's another thing you can do in this card is like go in this card and step around. Like get inside this card. What's happening inside this card? Like if I walked into this card right now, you know, am I the squirrel? Am I the tree? Am I person that's entering the scene? You know, I'm wondering like if I'm walking this card, like what's to the right of the squirrel? Like is there a picnic table over there? And then are there people like having a party there? And are they eating cake? Like what's happening? What, you know, what is going on in this card? Another thing you can do is, you know, going back to the verbal thing, because like I said, I'm very verbal. It's like, is that squirrel saying something? You know, it's like, is he talking to me? Is he talking to the nuts? Is he talking to the tree? Is the tree saying something? And like I said, is there something else in this card? Are they saying something? Is that thing saying something? Is the wind saying something? So this may seem a little like kind of out there, but we are talking about tarot, so we can be out there. That's kind of the whole point. You know, this is not a logical linear exercise by any means. Then you know, another aspect with the card is you can start looking for symbols. So symbols like this particular deck is not very symbolic, but a deck that you have might be symbolic. That's another thing that you need to remember about this whole method is that it is going to be very dependent on the person and the deck and the particular time you pick it up. So it's, you know what I mean? So there really are no definitions. There are no set definitions. Like this card means something right now, but if I pull this again in 3 days, it means something completely differently. It's not, so you don't need to get hung up on that. Like what's the right definition? What's the correct definition? There isn't one. That you just need to give that up now. Just throw that away. Throw it away. There is no right definition. So like I said, there's really not on this particular deck, there's really no symbols. It's not symbol heavy. If I had to pull one out, like fall is a symbol, right? So fall is a symbol of decreasing energy. Fall is a symbol of energy going in. Fall is a symbol of you know, resources going fallow, or you know what I mean? It's not a time of growth. We're going into the time of death. If we wanted to look at this card symbolically. Another way you can look at it is with number and with suit, which I want to do a whole thing on that because that is really a good way to really get a good handle on the minor arcana, is to take the numbers and the suits, but without getting into too much with that. This is the suit of earth in this deck, which is the suit of pentacles or coins or discs in other decks, and it's a 4. So when I think of 4s, and this may not be what you think about 4s, but you know, 4s, you think of stability, You think of like 4 walls, you think of a container, you think of safety, those kind of things. And then the earth element has a lot of those same characteristics. And it's very tangible. It's very five sensory things you can see, hear, taste, touch, smell. And once again, bringing up resources. So if you put those two together, those ideas together, then you get something out of the card. So that is how you would approach any card intuitively. And that's our card for tonight. So what I would say about it is it's like we have a waning moon right now. So because we just had the eclipse, the full moon lunar eclipse on, was it Friday? It was Friday. So the moon's waning now. So it has that same energy as fall. We have a waning moon. But you know, we're talking about gathering resources and stability, and you know, just support. So it's like just saying like, hey, like kind of dig your feet into the ground. You're supported. Like it's okay. Because I'll be honest, this eclipse, it really rocked me. I'm not somebody that's super affected by the moon, but you know, occasionally we have moons or eclipses or something, and it's like that one hit me. A lot happened, a lot. So yeah, so I feel like this is a card that's like saying, hey, you know, you've got resources. The ground has stopped shaking. Everything's good. Put your feet on the ground. We're good to go. Okay. Let me see what I'm talking about next. I gotta change my slide so I can see what I'm talking about. Okay, significators. Okay. Okay, am I back? I think I'm back. Okay, significators. I'm looking over because this is one of my screens. Okay. So next I want to talk about significators. Let me see if there's anyone still here. Look over here. Oh my God, I don't know where that is. Okay. I don't know. I don't think so. Oh, one watching. Yeah, one person still here. Hello, whoever you are. Welcome to the Speakeasy. Okay, so I wanted to talk about significators. So that is it's a weird word. You're like, what the hell is a significator? It's a card that stands for you, somebody you're reading for, or something that you're asking about in a reading. So let me grab my cards over here. So if you look, you may have come across it in tarot books, and it's usually kind of odd the way they put it. It's like, oh, you'll pull a significator for the person that you're reading for, and it's like, if they're dark haired, you know, pull the Queen of Swords or something like that. Now, I don't really understand what the point of that would be. But the point of the way I'm using significators is it's kind of similar to Lenormand, if you're familiar with that, but if you're not, that is fine. So let's say that this is the example I use in my newsletter. If you had gone on a job interview and you're wondering if you were going to get a call back on this interview, like one of the significators of getting a call back might be this card here. This is the Six of Earth. Because this is people like in a commercial setting, and it's like there's a transaction happening. Like that could be a job offer, or yeah, that could be a job offer. It could be other things too. Let me go through that and find other things that, you know, it could be something like this, like a union with the lovers. What else could signify a job offer? I'm looking, hold on. You know, here we have, this is the Three of Earth, working with other people. You know, the Ace of Earth if I come across it, could be a job offer. I'm not seeing it right now. I don't want to spend a lot of time me looking through. Oh, here it is. Right. It could be something like that. I'm sure there are other examples in here, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing that. And so if you wanted to, you know, pick a card for yourself in that situation, if you are seeking a job, then you know you might be one of the pages or a child in the deck. This is the child of air in this deck. If you are seeking a job, let me see. You know, like, I mean, even this card could be like, hey, I have skills. I want this job, you know, and like I said, this is all very dependent on you, your deck, the question. You know, there's a lot of things that go into this. So it's like, yeah, if you are like a tradesperson, this is someone that's like doing trades. So like you're trying to get a contract as a tradesperson, or, you know, trying to get picked up even by a company, you know, like you're an electrician or something like that. Like this might be an appropriate card that signifies you. So that is something to think about. And then I might have to go back to card cam. Then when you ask the question, a lot of what your answer will be like, is that job looking at you, or is the person doing the hiring looking at you or not? So this is where the one person who is here, no one person, if you have a question that you would like me to look at with the cards and use as an example, I am super happy to do that. So if you have a question, you can type it in the chat. But if not, that is fine too. I'm going to switch to card cam and I'll see if you ask me a question. So let me switch the card to the card cam. And let me make sure I have, where's the Zoom? Zoom. Oh, this is it. I hope you could hear me when I was over on the other side, because I forgot to switch the, oh, hello. One of my live Zoom people has arrived. I'm blanking on your name. I'm sorry. We're on YouTube right now. So like, if you don't want to be on YouTube live, you can, Angela, that's your name, right? You're Angela. Sorry. If you don't want to be on YouTube, you can duck out. I don't know how it shows up, but nobody showed up. So I'm doing it on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh,
so anyway, I'm doing.
Yeah, I was just, I'm sorry to be late. I was just running
like,
around.
What the hell is going on? All right.
Oh,
so
okay.
We're doing.
What are we doing?
Who's looking at who? And I also asked if somebody has a question that you would like me to use as an example, type it in the chat and I'll use that as an example. All right.
All right.
Here we go. Okay. So I wanted to talk about who's looking at who. I don't see anything in the chat. Okay. So I'm just going to lay some cards and we'll use it as an example.
Okay.
Okay, so in this example here, we have we have the Elder of Air and the Explorer of Fire. They're not looking at each other. They're both looking the same way. They're both looking that way. So they're not looking at each other. So if it was like, if the question is like, am I going to get the job offer? And this is you, and this is the job that you're applying for. Well, you guys aren't looking, you're looking the same way, but you're not looking at each other. So the way I personally read that, that's already not favorable.
Okay, because you're not communicating.
And then you can put a third, this is my famous 3-card reading here. You can put a third card in the middle to get more information. And I say when cards are more straightforward, like this one is, this is kind of like, what you see is what you get.
kind of attitude with the card. But going back to this, who's looking at who, they're not looking at each other. So if we put another couple of cards, like, yeah, here we have cards where they're looking straight ahead. So once again, like, it's like, am I going to get the job offer? It's like, well, you're looking straight ahead, they're looking straight ahead. You know, maybe yes, maybe no, but there's not a connection through looking at each other.
Right, they're not looking
Let's
at
see if we
each
can
other.
get an example of looking at each other. Okay, no, and there's see, in this card, there's nobody's looking anywhere, but the geese are flying. They're flying towards this man. They're flying towards this man. See, so I would count that as a connection. Like, if this was you applying for a job, this is the people doing the hiring. Well, they're moving toward you. They're moving in your direction. That would be good. Let's look at another one. Okay, there's nobody there. Here we have somebody looking straight ahead. So that's just what it is. Looking straight ahead. Kind of looking straight ahead down. They're, you know, each one of these is kind of minding their own business. Another set where people looking straight ahead. I don't know if we're going to get one where here this is where a group of people are looking all together, and this person is looking out that way. So, you know, it's like this is a group and this is a group. They're not connected.
Right, three are involved with each other.
At a map. That person's looking up from her dog. I don't think we're going to get one where they're looking at each other, and that's, you know, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I'm looking at cards, and I don't think I see a lot of that.
It's like he's looking kind of generally her way, but you get the idea. You get the idea. So then, and no one has said anything in the chat. Okay, so what I was going to show you next is what you can do is you can use the significators that I was talking about, and you can force them into a spread. And then you can use the method that I just told you about who's looking at who and what's going on to read it. Okay, so once again, let's do the job offer thing again. And so yeah, so I'm going to use the 4 that we started with as the card of the evening. I'm going to use that 4. I'm going to use that 4 of Earth as the job offer, if I can find it. There it is. And then we have to have, then I'm going to choose it. So this is the job offer. And then we're going to have somebody as the person that's applying for the job, the person that had the interview and applied for the job, and they're like, oh, am I going to get that job? So I need to find that person. Like I said, I kind of like child cards or pages for that, or they could be knights too. That would, you know, that would be appropriate. And like I said, if it's you, you can figure out whatever is appropriate for you. So, we can use Child of Earth. Let's use Child of Earth. Okay. So, all right. So we need 9 cards altogether. So that's 2. So I need to pull 7 more.
Oh, okay.
Do that. 7 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'm going to take our significator, put it in there. And then we're going to shuffle them up. We are going to shuffle them up. And hopefully I can get 9 cards in this screen. Let me see. All right. So we're asking, will this person get an offer for a job after they have interviewed? All right. So there's one of those explorer cards I was talking about. So you can lay it out in a 3x3 square. I mean, there's lots of different ways you can do it, but that is just how I'm doing it right now, so let me see. It's not all fitting. I think I'm gonna have to try to zoom out. Let me slide over and see if I can zoom out. All right. So we are zooming out. Zooming out. Okay. All right, so we've got the 9-card spread. So the significators are here. We've got, this is the person that applied. This is the offer. And the offer is right smack in the middle. So when it's right smack in the middle like that, I just feel like it's a confirmation of like, yes, I understood your question. This is what we're focusing on. Or it could mean that the person that asked the question, it's like, they're very focused on getting an answer.
Right.
So that's good that is, I mean, if it's somewhere else, I don't feel like, oh, that's bad. Like it's not, it's not zoomed in on the question or anything. Don't feel like that, but I'm just saying that I just always feel like that's a confirmation. And then we have the person who applied right next to the job, which is good. I would like that person to be over here more than over there because the squirrel is looking that way. But that doesn't necessarily mean all is lost. The person who applied for the job their head is down and they're very focused on this apple. So they're not really concerned with anything else too much. But we can say things about like the environment around the job, even though the person that applied might not be necessarily looking or caring or focusing on any of that. We do have 2 explorers, which are the same thing as knights. So we have explorer of air and explorer of water. So I would take that as, this is like energy and activity and focus. Interestingly, we have on this line here, we've got this child of earth who is the applicant and the job. And then we have the temperance card. So it's, the temperance card is about finding the right combination or the right mix. And since that's the job itself, like they're probably looking for the candidate, who has the right mix of like skills and personality traits and, whatever it is that they're looking for. They want the right mix in the candidate. What's happening across the top here is a lot of times I like to think of that as kind of like top of mind, what's going through with the thought processes, what the person is aware of, like they're aware of these kind of things. So, we have explorer of air. So, the explorer is putting a lot of activity into looking around, trying different things, asking questions, gathering information, so they've probably been applying for lots of other things. They're trying to figure out where the best opportunities are. We have the 10 of air here. So, maybe they left a job recently. That might be a sign of that. Maybe they're getting a little tired and they kind of want to move on from where they're at, or just of this whole job search or something like that. And I'm just like making stuff up, which I hate to do. I will tell you this, I hate to do this because without an actual question, I'm just talking gibberish. I really am, because I really like to work with questions. So you people that are in this, in YouTube here, like if you want to ask a question, ask away, because this is just me, like, this is just mental masturbation right now. It's like, I don't actually have a real question. So I'm just like, you know what I mean? But I will walk through it. I will walk through it, but I'm telling you, it works a lot better when I have an actual question, because it has somebody's energy attached to it. And that just makes it valid, and I don't know if you want to call it real or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, so we have the teacher card. So, maybe they're thinking like, I should really go back to school, because this can be about teaching. They're like, maybe I should go back to school. I'm kind of tired of this whole search. I should just get more skills. Something like that. This lower third here is kind of like what I see is like, this is like what's in your heart, or this is what's subconscious, or this is what you're not aware of. And so, or the person asking the question. So we have the other explorer here, the explorer of water, and we've got the 8 of fire, and we have strength. So, this explorer of water, guys, he's headed straight for this meteor shower of the 8 of fire. So, the explorer of water to me is very much I associate it with like kind of like with a quest, and like Don Quixote, and the dream, the impossible dream, and kind of like being in the imaginal realm kind of thing, where it's like you're in the realm of possibilities, and you're on a quest, and you know what I mean? It's like people are like, you're completely insane, but you're on your quest. And so, that's what you're doing, and headed right for this meteor storm of the 8 of fire. So, maybe this is a little bit of like testing of the metal, but I always feel like the 8 of fire is fast, like things are happening fast. And then we have the strength card. So it's saying that this person actually probably has more strength than they realize, and more conviction than they realize. And this is interesting about the dreams. Like, if I had a real person in front of me, we would come back to that. But that's kind of basically how that works. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but I'm going to come back and get on camera. So I'm going to slide over. Here I come. All right.
So I put a question into our chat.
Okay. So does anyone have any questions?
I put a question.
Like I said, I know it's really different when we do things with the YouTube live, because you just don't have the level of interaction that you would get in a live Zoom call. But if anybody has any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them. And I'm happy to pull cards and here's something in the chat. Oh, okay, Angela. Okay, I finally saw your question. Okay, great. So you said I applied for 2 jobs last week. Will I hear from any of them in the next 2 weeks? Okay, all right, we can work with that. I'll slide back over. Sliding back over. Okay, go back to card cam. All right, back on card cam, back on the other microphone. Okay, sliding over. So Angela said she applied for 2 jobs last week. Will she hear from any of them? Okay. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. All right, shuffling. All right. So, okay. I'm trying to think if I want to do it in my 3 card. I should probably just do it in the 3 card spread style, not the 9, because then I have to pick a second significator for the other job. So let me just do it this way. All right. So Angela and the 2 jobs. So, all right. So
this is job 1. This is job 2. This is Angela. And I do hope that's your name. I'm pretty sure you're Angela. I'm pretty sure. Okay. Okay. All right. So you're showing up here as the 5 of air. One job is 7, one job is 5. So that's interesting because you're matching each job either by number or by suit. So for this job, you're matching by number with the 5. With this job, you're matching by suit with the air. So that's just interesting. So just using when I was talking about like who's looking at who, you know, there's just a lot of commotion over here is what's happening. And this job here is like they're looking at their map, so they're more concerned with the higher, I think the higher level picture of where they're going with everything than with the candidates who applied. I mean, and then just, I would say there's a lot of competition for these jobs because when I see this card, I always think about competition. But that's, you know, that's just a side note. And then as far as this job is, you know, this is another situation where it's sealed off and it's in its own little pod over here. So, all right, I'm going to put another card over here. Ooh, I like that. That came up earlier and we have that one. So, you know, earlier, I don't know if you were here, but when I was talking about significator cards and I was saying an offer, this was one of the ones that I pulled and I said that could be a job offer. So you might hear from the one and they might extend an offer or a second interview or something like that. But I think, you know, they're looking at their overall plan right now. So maybe there might be a little delay or something, but you might get one from the one. You know, this is encouraging here with the 9, not necessarily for that job, but for your job hunt overall, because the 9 is saying that it's like you're almost at the end of the cycle, you're almost at the 10. So I'm going to pull an advice card just to do it. This is the card we started with at the beginning of the call. It was the 4 of Earth. So yeah, so that. What was I saying the message is that you're stable, you're grounded, you have resources, everything's cool, just sit tight and things are going to happen. So I would say you might get an offer on the one job. That's the answer. That is the answer. Okay, I'm going back to the camera. Okay, switching. All right. I'm back. Okay. Well, it's, we're like 10 to 8. So if anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to take any other questions. Otherwise, I'll wrap it up. Hopefully this was of use to people. I'm hoping I'll get better at communicating my ideas because I know sometimes it's like, what are you talking about? But it should be. Well, I'll tell you a little story. I went to, oh gosh, this online witches coven ceremony for Beltane. Angela said she was wondering what the highlights would be. Let me look at. Okay, I applied for 2 jobs. Will I hear of any of them in the next 2 weeks? I wonder what the highlights. All right. Let me go back to card King. All right, and then I'll tell my story about the witches coven. All right, let me switch. Okay. We're asking about the highlights for Angela's next 2 weeks. Highlights. All right. Angela's highlights. So I guess a lot of times I do use a significator in my reading. Like I'll pull the first card, and that's like the person asking the question, just because it kind of gives me insight as to where they're at. You know what I'm saying? Just as a quick thing. So we're good. We're going to do that. So we're pulling a card for Angela. Oh, so you have the 9 of Earth. So yeah, so this is, you know, this is resourced, no worries. You know, you have things available at your disposal. Maybe it's not cold hard cash, but it might be connections, it might be knowledge, it might be time. You know, time is a resource. You know, there are things that you can trade to get what you want, whatever, you know, whatever that might be. So yeah, you're in good shape. You should not be worried. Okay, so the highlights of the next couple of weeks here. Wow, we got that 5 of air again. Oh my gosh. And I shuffled, you saw me shuffle. I'm pulling the same cards here. All right. So all right. So I think the highlights of this week is you kind of like getting a game plan together with this 5 of air and the 7 of air. You know, it's like you're logically putting something together, and maybe after this eclipse, which I said at the beginning, like this was a rough one for me. I don't know if it was for you, but it's like you may be regrouping and kind of getting it together and getting your plan for moving forward for the next couple of weeks. And so the highlight is here. This is the 4 of fire. You know, I feel like this is some kind of milestone or some kind of marker. So that it's like you do get something accomplished. Like you will accomplish something. So if you feel like stuff has been slipping through your fingers, you know, you're going to get at least one little thing accomplished, and you're like, okay, at least I got that done. At least I got this thing pointing me in the right direction. You know, just one little milestone is going to come up for you this week. That's what I feel like. Okay, so now I'm coming back to the king. Okay, I changed my microphone. Okay, so here comes the Witches Coven story. So, all right, so it's the online Witches Coven Beltane ceremony. So I was kind of curious about it. So I went to it, and you know, it's like to me, this is my personal opinion. To me, like high magic and organized religion are kind of similar. They're kind of similar in that they're like organized. They're highly organized. It's not a free for all. You know what I mean? It's not a new age, you do what you feel kind of thing. It's not. And so I've always been kind of like organized religion phobic. And so that's where I've always been kind of like high magic phobic, but also for other reasons too, but we're not going to go into that. So anyway, long story short, I go to the Witches Coven thing, and I really felt like it was kind of like a Catholic mass in a way. Like there was a lot of Latin, okay? There was a lot of Latin, and they just ran with it. You know, they knew there were people, they knew they had opened this up and invited it to people that weren't part of it and that maybe were not familiar with it. But like going to an organized religion ceremony, whether it's a Catholic mass or whatever, everybody just does their thing. And if you don't know what's going on, then you don't know what's going on. Like it's just, they don't bother to explain it. You just need to just keep coming to it and keep showing up, and you'll like figure out what everybody's doing. So you know, it was okay. Like I'm not criticizing it or anything, but it's like, you know, we did like kind of like a path working where we were all supposed to meet,
But I didn't figure that out till after it was done. I was like, oh, it would have been nice if someone had said that's what we're doing right now. But it was okay. It was okay. So my point is hopefully this whole live was not like my experience at the Beltane, which is coven, where you're like, what the fuck is going on right now? I have no idea what's going on right now. They're speaking Latin. What? How am I supposed to understand Latin right now? You know. So, anyway, let me see. Angela said something. No, there was no maypole. No. They had they definitely had their own traditions and way of doing stuff, which I totally respect. But no, there was no maypole. No, I mean, like I said, that there was like, I don't know if you want to call it an imagining or a path working or whatever. And then everybody came back from it and they were talking about it and they were like, there were peacocks there and there was a giant stone egg and there was a white snake there. There was other creature, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay. Yeah, it would have been nice if I knew that's what we were doing when we were doing it, because maybe I would have gotten there, but I didn't. So, but there was no maypole. No one said anything about there being a maypole at the thing. So there were frogs. There were frogs because the lady who was doing the ceremony, she had her windows open. I believe she lives in Canada, so they're like the little frogs. You could hear them every now and then going peep, 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 peep. That was cool. But yeah, no. There was no magic tea at my house. Maybe at someone else's location there was, but not at my location. So yeah, so it was interesting. So like I said, hopefully you're not at the end of this like, I just don't know what happened. Like it was with the coven, but I'll get better. So I'm going to sign off for now. And for people who are seeing this later, I'll put a link in the description how you can get on my list so that you get messages about when the YouTube live ones will be, when the closed private Zoom meetings will be, blah, blah, blah. And so this is Cassandra, the card reader, and I will see you again soon.